Hey, welcome viewers. This is Wadidja, as in what did you say, what did you do, what did you think, and bringing you another commentary.
Isn't the city great?
This time on the 5 best XP locations for farming XP and for combative training against the different enemy or the major enemies in the game. And I want to go ahead and run through a few tips, advice, couple of build options, and just familiarize you with the various different locales. Definitely want to, as far as the combative training thing, I thought it would be good to definitely cover all the different enemy groups. So I'm going to go ahead and go through them in the list from greatest to least as far as XP in these missions, but I went ahead and scouted out them all and went through the list just to see which ones give you the most per enemy group. But yeah, to me, I think this is one of the best ways to go ahead and train just in general for fighting enemies, but also to specifically for the ultimate level. For me, ultimate level difficulty, when they come up with that, excuse me, I believe that working out against the different enemy groups and factions and what have you will allow you to have a good skill set to be able to fight against whatever might come your way. And first on the list will be Fisk Hideout. They offer the most XP at basically 2,978 at the end of it, and of course that's making sure that you use your combat analyzer, and we'll go through build options in a moment. But again, so Fisk Hideout in Greenwich is the location there, and again that's 2,978 XP that you get. The mission here on the map. It offers 2,500 XP as a base. It happens to be a main mission as well as a side mission, and that's the reason why it gives you a guaranteed 2,500. And then with the enemies defeated, you get the XP for them, and with the combat analyzer you're getting 478 for that instead of say 300, I believe 330 maybe. So don't quote me on that, but it's definitely less. And to me, if you're trying to increase the level of your spider character, you probably want to maximize that potential of XP with the combat analyzer. But next on the list that we'll cover will be the Sable Outpost in Upper West Side on the map here. And this Sable Outpost here offers you 2,303 XP. And basically it's giving you the XP for the enemies that you defeat. And then again, next on the list as far as the enemy types, are the prisoner camps. They're third on the list, and the prisoner camp that offers you the most XP is here in Harlem. The prisoner camp here offers you 1,802 XP, and let's see. And then next on the list are the demon warehouses. The demon warehouse that seems to offer you the most XP is in Upper West Side again, same as the Sable Outpost. But yeah, here's the demon warehouse here in Upper West Side, and again that offers you 836 XP from defeating these enemies here. And again, what's interesting is the demon warehouses all seem to offer you a range from 700 and some change to about to the max of 836 for just defeating the enemy. So, but whichever one you want to mess with is fine, but this one here offers you the most for your time. And then last on the list are the is a combat challenge, a Taskmaster combat challenge, located in Midtown offers you, in my opinion, well, not just my opinion, but it's stated in the game, the most XP out of the combat challenges. And you get to fight the mercenaries in that, and they give you 551 as a base XP. But interesting enough, I don't know all the various different factors, but it seems like tactics and varied use of gadgets and time, it's an interesting combination of factors which can actually give you more than 551 XP. I've seen it over 1,000, but I couldn't tell you exactly what I was doing to get it, but I've gotten it a couple of times. Back in the day when I used to grind this one before, the news was out from a lot of folks about the Fisk location that we're at here in Greenwich. Um, but yeah, I still actually prefer this location here as far as the way it's set up, and I like fighting against the mercenaries. But far as time and effort, this Fisk location giving you 2,978 XP, you can knock this out depending on your build. You know, in under 2 minutes, or as much time as you'd like to take with it. Um, for me, I'm featuring the wrestler suit this time around for this video, but I like a more melee-centric, web-based type of combat, and so at the moment I'm really trying to hone that amongst the different enemy factions and the do's and you don'ts, and I've got a good amount of tips I can share with you throughout this here. Um, but I tend to like to use the battle focus and the combat analyzer and the kinetic power cells. So the kinetic power cells and the battle focus both give you focus, which is exceptionally useful for taking out the enemies instantly with your finishers, for healing yourself. When you have a full focus bar, you gain extra melee damage as well, and it seems to pick up a little bit of speed with the attacks to a degree. The web striker here generates even more focus, twice the rate that it typically does when you do any type of web-based attack. And web-based attacks also too would include various different gadgets like your web shooters, your impact web, or say your web bomb, or even the suitability of the blossom tech thing, the web blossom that a lot of people tend to like. Um, but yeah, I believe this is it here. But as far as like efficiency in all the various different locations, multitasking your attacks, diversifying your attacks with your Spider Bro, typically near the end of Wave 5 or as Wave 6 begins in the base type challenges, you'd want to activate that. And the other thing that's useful is, you can, depending on how you like your flow of combat, you can use the battle tech here, gadget attacks generate focus, which is my preference when I do this method. And because you want also to rely on your spider drones to diversify your attack, multitask situation. And the other option that you can use is, let's see here. Yeah, it's this one here. Scavenger finishers generate bonus gadget refills if you want to go that route too. But bear in mind that even without this, you still get a gadget refill on each finisher. This just gives you bonus, like an extra one or so. And in my opinion, if you spread out your attack where you do 2 finishers, or, if you have this skill tree leveled up, I think it's this one here, chain finisher, immediately perform a second finisher on basic enemies. So, if you don't have it, then after the first finisher, release a drone, then, build up some focus, or if the focus is already there, then rinse and repeat with, but if you do have this, after your second finisher, you want to go ahead and release a drone, and between your attacks and the drone attacks, you're going to build excuse me, you're going to build focus quite quickly. And also too, bear in mind that if your melee counter, the higher it goes, the more focus, or the faster you gain focus, rather. But for my purposes here, this is training, combat training, in my opinion, for like I said, the ultimate level, as well as you know trying to like I said, not necessarily perfect, but hone my technique here. I kind of like using the regard of Peter Parker when he uh, lost his spider abilities during the whole Spider Island. Well, before the Spider Island incident, I think it was Big Time or something like that, and he had to come up with his own martial arts, and he called it the Way of the Spider, and I think he also too nicknamed it Spider Fu. But either way, I think it's kind of cool in the fact that you can kind of draw on more of your old school elements of Spider-Man before a lot of the gadgets that which kind of came into play after the Superior Spider-Man with Doc Ock, which is an interesting note because after you get your max level in the game of 50, beyond that is considered the superior level for Spider-Man, and you're now in a whole different XP bracket too of 25,000 a pop. So these XP missions that offer your best payout are the way to go if you want to maximize your time, because not everybody may want to level up their Spider-Man character beyond the point of the game. Me personally, it was kind of like a childhood fantasy come to life, so to speak, in the fact that when I was young, I'd say probably younger than 6, somewhere around. I mean, I was very young. I wanted to be a Super Spider-Man, and that was my Halloween costume, and it was hard to get me out of it unless it was necessary to wash it for a couple of years, actually. But being able to level up this Spider-Man here to the superior level, giving you 1% extra melee,
dang, looks like they called their buddies.
and 1%, excuse me, 1+1 health per level. It pays off eventually, but that's going to lead me to an interesting point here in a minute about the combat in the game, and the aspects towards the difficulty of the enemy types in the various different levels of difficulty that are currently here. We've got friendly, amazing, and spectacular. And to be honest with you, there really isn't a huge difference other than what is typically stated. They're like, the enemies are going to dish out a little bit more damage and they're going to take a little bit more damage, but we're talking about a difference, it seems, of about like 1 hit per enemy. Pretty much, between the difficulties. So, friendly takes 5, and, amazing will take probably 6, and spectacular probably take 7. Just an example per se of so and most importantly, what you have to go through in order to defeat the enemies is essentially the same, depending on the difficulty level. That's the reason why training in this method against the different enemy factions is going to really work for the ultimate level, because the same tactics that you have to use to defeat the enemies here,
good work,
you'll have to use regardless of what level of difficulty you play the game in. Also, one second here. Yeah, like I said, the tactics that you have to use are the same. For example, when you're fighting Sable, which is the next group we're about to go to, there's a chest plate on their armor which has to be knocked off, and you know, that aspect to weaken their armor, and that's not for every one of the Sable agents, just the ones that wield batons and hand pistols are the ones that you have to knock the chest plate off. And it's kind of hard to catch, depending, you know, on how zoned in you are and focused amongst everything going on. But yeah, this the little white chest cap on their armor will pop off with various different tactics, which I'll explain and show you. And then you can, you know, melee them like, you know, normal any other enemy. You know, but yeah, the chest cap rather, on their armor, you know, any type of throw will disable that situation. So, you know, in your moves list, you know, you've got various different types of those. Like an attack like that won't knock off their chest armor. Neither will a typical yank. But yeah, if you disarm an enemy with a weapon and then throw the weapon at them, it will knock the chest cavity off, as well as any type of throwable object into them with a web type of attack will knock the chest cavity pace off. Or you know, you could, you know, web throw them into something that will knock off the chest plate. You know, you can spin them for more damage as well, and knock back other enemies. But you know, you have your basic throw here, which is to me more of a toss more so than a throw. But you know, it bottom line will knock off the chest cavity and a chest cap rather on the armor, and also too, throwing them into other enemies will knock off everybody's armor that it hits, that, you know, has that sort of extra protection. But if you don't knock that off efficiently and quickly, you'll be, you know, hitting the enemies all day, regardless of what level of difficulty you're in. And you know, if you're fighting in the ultimate level when it comes out, you know, like I said, it's, you know, the enemies are going to be hitting you harder. I'm sure they're going to be laying in more attacks. This here attack will knock off the chest cavity cap as well. And you know, what I've noticed too in the difficulty settings is that you know, when you the enemy types will kind of increase their rate of attack, so to speak, against you. You know, for example, like an easy mode or a friendly mode, for example, a difficulty setting, you know, a gunman who's, and when the enemies spawn, the gunmen always like to spawn, you know, in the back of the herd, and, you know, rifles, missile launchers, what have you, flying enemies, so that it's harder for you to get to them, and they can just take line of sight and shoot you. But those enemies, in my opinion, you want to dispatch quickly. I apologize, kind of lost my train of thought there. But you know, like I said, I was mentioning, right, the difficulty settings and the way the enemies sort of attack you. Like I said, there's just, like, so the gunmen will run out, for example, and you know, on friendly mode they may take a moment or pause to actually take line of sight to shoot you. On, you know, spectacular level, you know, they're not hesitating one bit to shoot you as soon as they have line of sight. And you know, once you're detected in these types of missions, there's a degree of omnipotence with the AI, in that they will, you know, all knowing, they know where you are. Just if one knows, they all know, until all of them may lose sight of you, at which point, in case, you could possibly go back to a stealth situation if that's what you wanted to do. But you know, that is part of another point that brings to mind that, you know, with the combat in this game, regardless of what difficulty setting, like I said earlier, you know, you're gonna have to do certain things to get around various different situations. So therefore, the way I interpret it is that, you know, you as a player are handicapped, and the AI is handicapped too in various different situations. So, you know, like when he goes to do a finisher, for example, you know, the AI is completely handicapped to your attacks, and you're immune to their attacks. You know, when shield wielding enemies or baton wielding enemies come at you, they will, you know, no matter what your melee strength is, well, as far as I know of, within reason, I believe there was a broadcaster who hacked the game and had some redonkulous level of health and melee percentage. I think it was like 40,000 or something. But he, you know, his little demonstration was against like Fisk enemies, and you know, they don't have the kind of body armor or require a whole lot of variation in your tactics to kind of get around their situation. Most of Fisk, if not all of them, have some type of ballistic or body armor on, which you know, requires a few more hits than, say, your prisoners or your you know, the demon warehouse, for example. You know, most of them, except for gun-carrying enemies, you know, don't have ballistic armor on. So, you know, it's not going to take as much to take them down, but, you know, shielded enemies, you know, no matter how much melee thus far that I can determine, will allow you to punch through, you know, the shield. So yeah, I apologize about taking so much damage. I'm sort of talking and fighting too, so I'm not you know, as proficient at what I'm doing. And but yeah, I don't mind using the impact web for, you know, what I like to do, because it still reminds me of old school Spidey, or even the natural kick where you, you know, he had web glands. You know, I don't think it violates the point. You know, so if you want to role play with that situation, it's not a bad one to go with. I like the idea myself at times. But yeah, so, you know, you're always going to have some degree of handicap in regard of, you know, how much finesse per se you can implement in fighting the enemies, because there's various different reasons or limitations or sort of say handicaps that you will have to overcome, as well as the AI will have, you know, various different degrees of handicaps that you can exploit. Like, you know, like more damage across, you know, when you get behind them. You know, finishers, you know, where they are immune to the attack. Throws, being webbed up. You know, so same as they can sort of stun you and lock you up, and you know, you're in a handicap situation there. You know, you have your moments of doing that as well. But yeah, to me, I like the aspects of, you know, having, you know, crazy combos and what have you, but you know, to me, when I'm doing my best, I'm efficient at the situation and dispatching the multiple enemies, because I personally would not want to have to hit, you know, an enemy 4, 5, 10, 12 times in real life when I'm surrounded by a herd of folks that are trying to take my head off, because the enemies in the game, you know, uncompromisingly are trying to kill Spider-Man. They aren't trying to hurt him. They're not trying to you know, put him in the hospital or maim him. They're just trying to take his head clean off his shoulders and knock his spine through his chest. But yeah, again
Got
here,
the
this
people out of
Sable
the cells.
Outpost offers
They don't seem inclined to
2,303
continue their
XP.
protest.
I hate that Sable's
Like I said,
violating
that's the second
constitutional rights.
best
But right
location
now,
as far
I'll
as
settle for keeping innocent
XP
people out of
amounts
lockup. Thanks.
that you can get. But yeah, no matter how much melee you have, you're always going to have to dispatch them a particular way from what I can determine. And so with that in mind, you know, you have to, it's each their own as to how far they want to go ahead and level up their Spider-Man character, you know, how superior they want to be, so to speak. You know, and the extra health, of course, is a bonus, but keep in mind with the health that it's not going to make you more durable. You still take the same amount of damage. You just have a greater pool from which to heal from. And and the 1% melee is a slow tick, you know, and it's an odd situation in that you, number one, don't know where you're starting with all the melee, and number two, you don't know how much damage any one of the enemies can actually take other than what seems to be observed by whatever tactics you're using. Again, here we're at the prisoner camp here in Harlem. This location, let's see here, let me make sure I got it right here, offers 1,802 XP.
10:30.
But so yeah, it's you know, with that 1% as it adds up, in my opinion, you solidly feel that you are reducing your hits by 1 at 100%. You know, you start to get the taste of it, of course, at around 50% beyond max level of 50 plus, you know, which gives you 200 health.
Oh, sorry. Did I start on you?
But yeah, so, you know, though I appreciate the point in the capacity that I get to kind of live out a childhood fantasy in a way of having this sort of super Spider-Man or whatever, yeah, in a degree that they're allowing it, because like I said, it's a slow tick in the way that it tends to build, and the fact that you have to still, you know, you'll never be strong enough, so to speak, to hit a person with a shield that I know of, and you know, or hit a person with a baton and knock them out in one hit. You know, especially like I don't know, you might be able to get through disabled dudes, you know, because there is a decrease in the amount that I've had to hit them since I've gotten up to, you know, this extra 200 and was it 19% melee beyond 200. So well, health 200 rather. I mean, you know, I have to be careful in the way you state it, because it's, like I said, it's not clear cut as to where you start with your melee.
No talking during the
you know,
infiltration.
is it proportionate with your health? Who knows? There's nothing telling you that. So yeah, but training against the enemy types here is a good thing. Helps break up the monotony of the grind, because you know just doing the speed method or the fastest method with the most lucrative XP at the Fisk Hideout with the drones, in my opinion, for me anyway, left me a little sloppy as far as my tactics and skills, especially in regard to the way that I'd like to handle my situation with this spider, this way of the spider, so to speak, of combat that I'm trying to work with in regard to what the game provides.
Guys, this isn't necessary. I'm already scared.
But you know, there are degrees of finesse that can be incorporated, of course, depending on how many times you want to hit the enemy or what you do to disarm the situation.
The escapees tried to break into their buildings.
Fits with what I heard. They want to take one over.
They'll be a lot easier to deal with up the street without hostages.
I'm working on it. Talk to you soon. Oh, backup's here. Great. Okay.
But and then too, I like to also too vary my training methods by sometimes not using battle focus, or sometimes by not using not just battle focus but focus period, unless it's just to do the finisher to get rid of it, so that I can get a good judge for the base melee of the character, beyond what you get when you have focus, because like I said, you do more damage in your melee attacks when you have focus, and in my opinion you seem to move a little faster. But yeah, I find it a good method of training just the base skills, and maintaining environmental awareness of things you can use to fight the enemies, your throwable objects, using the enemy themselves, using whoa, why'd you cross me? Hang on a second. Where did he land? But yeah, so like I don't think you'll ever be strong enough to punch through a brute's guard. You'll probably always have to slide under him, and regardless of the level of difficulty, again, you gotta slide under him. So when it comes to the ultimate level, be well practiced at it. Or whatever level of difficulty you'd like to go through. So again, the prisoner camp gives you 1,802 XP, and then the next on the list is your demon warehouse in the Upper West Side here. And at the end of the day, I still feel like the Sable group is the most difficult on level, and because they hit you in at least 3-4 quick successions of hits to try to stun you and catch you in between your movements, and combat wise, randomly just or arbitrarily dodging, for example, is not the best thing, because then you might not have the dodge at the moment that you need it. And that's an excellent point about the combat, is that as long as you're not dealing with that oomph of whatever time millisecond, plank time, I don't know, man, it's just some very minute period of time where you can't move after doing a particular movement like a dodge. You can quickly move if you hit the X button afterwards, because that's kind of like an extra dodge or a long dodge, or it's almost to me like a double jump in a way. But so yeah, you want to take care with how you want to just randomly just do things for the sake of doing things, or for stylistic purposes, or whatever, because they will try to exploit that point. That's all enemies. But yeah, your throws are very effective. Yeah, truth be told too, I mean, I don't know if anyone's watching this that may have seen my previous video. I tried to record this before, and I do apologize. I misspoke the XP amounts, and kind of caught my locations a little screwy. Bottom line, I just didn't have my notes together the way I needed to before going into the situation. So, lesson learned. But it's all good to be able to provide something a little bit more concise and consolidated. But yeah, electrical things of any sort will chain the attacks, and you can also throw the enemies that are electrocuted into other enemies to electrocute them. Yeah.
Peter, that location is a clearinghouse for donations to Lee's charities. Clothes,
Oops,
books.
wrong
They're
thing.
trucked
My
in
bad.
from drop boxes all over town.
Sounds like a perfect distribution network for drug running, which it looks like is their real priority. How do you backup guys get here so fast?
Boy,
I
that
know it's
hurt,
not the 6th train,
buddy. Back up, Slick. Mama said knock you out. But yeah, the other thing you can do too to help add in variety or trying to reduce the monotony, so to speak, of the grind. You know, it's, you know, role playing, so to speak, or, you know, theme type runs where you're wearing, you know, a different battle suit. You know, sometimes I like to cue in some Joe Jonah archives, you know, to kind of help out with theming various different videos or what have you. Again, I'm not really giving it my best focus here, but one thing too, besides you know, keeping it interesting with the different locations and your different outfits, some of the, you know, extra tidbits that are in your collections in the game. Oh man. You know, it's the fact that, you know, with me taking damage like this in the game, you do get to see again how much it affects the health at this point, and the rate that he's able to heal is still the same. So that's one constructive aspect to me, not being flawless at this. And to me, being flawless at these things, there's a bit of luck for me in my skill set anyway, on the superior level, in the aggression of attacks and the, you know, and to be honest with you, it seems like the enemy count is pretty much the same regardless of the difficulty. But, you know, again, taking out enemies more efficiently, you know, in fewer hits than not, you know, so if I come out with 100 hit combo or something or less, or whatever it is, I'm happy, you know, if I'm not beating on them all day. But again, I do appreciate some of the videos that are out there and the folks that do like to fight that way. I've favored a couple of them out there where folks are, you know, just going to town, man. They just doing all kinds of hitting and webbing and, you know, just trying to figure out the many ways that you could hit an enemy the most amount of times. You know, that is just wild to me. But yeah, I would never want to spend that all day like that. I mean, the way I fight here enough, it spends long enough, you know, because I'm not using all the other gadgets and drones and stuff. But you know, so yeah, the Demon Warehouse here, again, offers 836 XP, and that's the most out of all the Demon Warehouses that they offer. But a little tip on the heads up on keeping things varied or adding some spice. If you like, I just a little preview of what I'm going to do here. I had an idea. I did a recording earlier called "A Dream Within a Dream," where, you know, he was wearing this you know, spirit spider outfit, and you know, just wanted to satiate the spirit of vengeance. But yeah, this location here, this demon warehouse, and, you know, forget the spoiler aspect, but yeah, the demons play a significant role in why potentially a spirit of vengeance would want to visit them. But yeah, the dialogue in this mission here is really good for that type of a theme if you wanted to do anything in that neighborhood of things. But yeah, so that sort of rounds out the basis as far as the best you know, XP locations. And really, there's in regard to like combatively training besides stealth per se, or, you know, your acrobatics, your bomb challenges and drone challenges, the best XP location for these Taskmaster combat challenges is here in Midtown. Um, Again, this was my preferred location until, uh, you know, the list is numerous of folks that, you know, discovered this sort of little oddity with that side mission in Greenwich of the Fisk Hideout that I first did. But you know, I like this setup and how well contained the enemies are in this particular area, and you know, I do enjoy fighting against the mercenary groups. Uh, but yeah, so I'll give you a little demo on this one here. And this location here offers you, as I stated earlier, 551 XP. But you know, how fast you do it is completely up to you, and what methods you use to do it. And bear in mind, I have seen in the neighborhood of over 1,000 XP for this here. But again, don't know what the very tactics would be and the rate and time in which you'd need to do it, because I even got over 1,000 XP one time off of a silver level of qualification for this thing. So don't give me the line as to what all you need to do, but it's still good for varying the grind out and having experience with the different enemy factions. They gonna give you the spanking? What happens if you fail? But yeah, it's really cool because I haven't really fought in this arena too much since, you know, my early days of leveling, and you know, it's lovely to feel the difference of the melee damage that I can inflict more so than I used to. It's just, I'll be honest with you, I was a little dismayed at around 150 as to what it all adds up to be and just how much damage you're really kicking out, or rather reducing, how many hits you're reducing, and effectively taking down the enemies. Because, you know, that's why I like using the term way of the spider, because, you know, I want to be as efficient as possible, you know, take them out quick, using these basic tactics. But, you know, again, you can mix up in any kind of way you like. Oh, I forgot to use my battle focus. Yeah, you can mix it up any kind of way you like, which is nice. You know, the combat list here, you know, allows you a lot of versatility. So at any point in time while you're hitting your square button or in an attack, you can hit your circle button and do your dodge, your perfect dodge. You can hit X any point in time in this chain here, or you know, you just can't overly press your dodge. That's about the only one that you know, you'll have this refractory period, this rebound period where you know, for a split second you're not moving unless you go ahead and do your leap off type of a situation with X here, or if you're, you know, like I said, you're in the middle of a dodge, you can do what they call your long dodge, which uses circle and X. Where is that at? Somewhere in here. But yeah, see here, your circle and squares, squares and circles. Yeah, so here's your long dodge, your circle and X. So, you know, it's a lot of combinations, variations you can do, and of course, in between each move, you can release an attack. You know, web shot, a gadget. You can, you know, with the proper timing, you can release gadgets or web shots in between doing finishers, do web zips in between finishers, as long as you're within a certain range, because you know, bear in mind, you do have a certain amount of time you have to work with. But yeah, so that's the last location on the list as far as, you know, the 5 best spots. And just to review the point again, you know, we started out here in Greenwich at the Fisk Hideout here. giving you 2,978 XP. And second on the list is your Sable Outpost here in Upper West Side, giving you 2,303 XP. And that, you know, keep in mind that is with using your Combat Analyzer, you know, to give you bonus XP. And then your third location is your prisoner camp here in Harlem, giving you 1,802 XP. And then we want to move back up to the Upper West Side, to the Demon Warehouse, giving you 836 XP. And then last on the list here is this combat challenge here in Midtown, giving you at a base 551. Well, like I said, with the potential of over 1,000, but don't count on that point. You can try to work for it, and that might be a great challenge for yourself, you know, to help, you know, get through the grind of things. But again, it's going to be up to you as far as how worth it you feel the grind is. You know, you might just want an extra 25 health, 50 health, or 100 health, and 50% more melee, 100% more melee. What it is to feel comfortable for whatever level of difficulty, or just the role play of whatever Spider-Man character you'd like to be, Spider person, whatever. You know, you have some options at your disposal as far as how fast you'd like to go through that, and which enemies you'd like to deal with. But what I'm going to do real quick is show you something as a little bonus feature at the end of this here, is that, you know, if you want to get through it super fast, like I said, you want to go ahead and use your Spider Bro and your drone attack. And if it's just for the sake of XP, and it's not for the sake of, in my opinion, trying to work out some combat finesse or combat technique per se, other than this, you can switch it to easy mode. You can switch it to any level of difficulty in the game, and you will gain the same amount of XP. So, you know, you can kind of get through these a little bit faster by switching it to your friendly mode versus, you know, whatever you're on. And you know, at any point in time during your gameplay, and you'll earn the same amount of XP. And as you'll also to see, I'll demonstrate that you gotta get through the same obstacles regardless of what difficulty, as far as like shield carriers or baton wielders, you know, brutes, you know, Sable enemies. It don't matter. You know, and you know, this is my preferred method of kind of taking this route and knocking out a lot of the enemies stealth wise. But you know, you can get through it however you might feel is best. And but yeah, so you know, I go through, do my attacks, release my drones. I like to make my way over to the gunman as fast as possible, because you know, no need to deal with making sure I've reacted the right way given some situation not to get hit. I can just take this bitch ass out. And like I said, after you do 2 finishers, in my opinion, you want to go ahead and release your drones. And then, like I said, you know, as each wave starts, you know, your most problematic enemy, in my opinion, are going to be your missile launching bastards, and the guys, pardon my language here, but yeah, they can be a pain. And machine gun wielders. I mean, so they're going to always spawn in the back of your herd or furthest from you on the map in some way, shape, or form. So, you know, as soon as the wave hits, and generally there's some good audio cues about the point, or you can hit your R3 button and activate, where are we? We're in 6. Activate your Spidey sense, and, you know, go ahead and pull up, you know, your wave count, as well as highlight your enemies during your multitasking. At least that's how I like to fight. You know, situational awareness as best as possible, and you know, hitting the Spidey sense allows you to highlight the enemies too. But yeah, I don't know how fast that was there, but and I
Place
wasn't
is
really
locked down,
focusing.
Captain. Actually,
But
webbed down.
yeah, in
And
no time
someone's
at all,
finally
you can get
reported
your
shots fired, so I've got officers inbound.
2,978
Good
XP.
work.
You know, which is a good addition towards that 25,000 XP you need when you get to that superior level, which you can see in the upper right hand corner. But you know, at that rate and speed, take a little bit over, I think about what, 18 or so, to get through it. And you know, I'd say at your most proficient, you could probably get somewhere near the point of actually leveling up, probably 3 levels in an hour, rough. You know, you know, depending on how long it takes you to get through it, load time. You know, jibber jabber jabber. You know, whoa, not trying to kick, just trying to say hi.
Nice weather, huh?
There we go. But yeah, so that's it. The best I can sort of surmise everything. On, you know, the best farming locations is you know, in good training ground for the different enemy types to
Excuse me.
be prepared for whatever level of difficulty or whatever enemy types might come your way. I think amongst them should give you a good skill set to be able to handle whatever you'd like to do, Spidey friends. But yeah, thanks again for viewing and joining me, and hope all this helps. All right, take care.
All units, civilian.